In the beginning, there was nothing, and then there was life. Across numerous eons, eras, and epochs, simple organisms have evolved into over 8.7 million eukaryotic species, and in the never-ending fight to survive, some species have adapted into creatures only real in the realm of imagination. This is the wildest things in the wild, with Samuel Irwin.
I'm Samuel Irwin, and I'm here in the Amazon rainforest, where temperatures range between 71 and 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and where it rains an average of 60 to 120 inches per year. Here we have jaguars, anacondas, and frogs, among the bustling of plant species, including cacao, giant water lilies, and heliconia. Now come here, come closer, come closer. Do you see that? Do you see that way in the distance? That's an agouti, one of the keystone species here in the Amazon. They are able to break open that Brazilian nut tree seed pods with their sharp teeth and disperse them in the ground. Without the disbursement, there would be no Brazilian nut trees here in the Amazon, one of the most common tree species here in this forest, home to many, many different species.
Here is a close-up of the Bradypus trudcamptilus, also known as the flying sloth. This sloth eats primarily leaves, and its niche in the environment is eating leaves and allowing sunlight to reach the rainforest floor. The flying sloth eats leaves very fast with their big teeth, and also have curved claws on each foot to hang from trees. A flying sloth's biotic needs include buds, insects, fruits, and trees, and their abiotic needs consist of water, soil, light, and the climate.
Now here is a food web of the flying sloth. The flying sloth primarily eats leaves and flowers, and the capybara also eats flowers, and this leads to competition between the two species. The flying sloth is eaten by snakes and eagles, however it is primarily eaten by jaguars.
Many years ago, the three-toed sloth, the closest relative of the flying sloth, was constantly killed by jaguars. This led to the three-toed sloth evolving into the flying sloth. The flying sloth is able to unfurl flapped-up skin and soar to a nearby tree branch. This adaptation is key, as the cape-like structures are used to easily escape predators, and this increases its fitness because more flying sloths will live and have offspring.
Sloths are such magnificent creatures, and their evolutionary history is just as fascinating. With this phylogenetic tree, we can trace the genetic history back to anteaters and even back to armadillos. We have the three-toed sloth being discovered in 2001, and the flying sloth, its closest living relative, being the three-toed sloth, in 2022. The flying sloth evolved as a result of natural selection, as the three-toed sloth adapted to the flying sloth to be able to escape predators.
They are now the dominant sloth species because they are able to survive and produce more offspring. The flying sloth is a result of sympatric speciation, as the two species continue to inhabit the same area and did not evolve from the geographic separation. The flying sloth and three-toed sloth, while closely related, are not able to reproduce due to behavioral isolation, as the flying sloth will only mate with sloths that are able to unfurl their cape and do the mating dance, similar to behavior seen in birds of paradise.
Now this may not look like a rainforest to you, as there's only a handful of trees that meet the eye, and it is very snowy and very chilly. The weather is due to climate change, and the lack of trees is due to deforestation, or converting forest land to non-forest use. The sloths, along with so many other species, are losing their shelter and food source. The more and more trees that get chopped down, that is one less tree a flying sloth can inhabit and use for food.
This report from Nature.com shows the deforestation rate of the Amazon rainforest in kilometers squared per year. It shows that deforestation is again on the rise. The different colored bars represent the different phases in the Brazilian government's plan for the prevention and control of deforestation in the legal Amazon. The deforestation rate in 2020 was just under 15,000 square kilometers, the highest since 2017.
One way to resolve this problem is by imposing stronger government regulations and by banning clear-cutting of forests. This would prevent trees from being cut down in mass and would stop the habitat of the flying sloth from disappearing oh so quickly. And with time, mate, maybe the habitat will start growing again. But until then, this is the wildest things in the wild. And I'm Samuel Irwin. Good night, everybody.
Sloths are such magnificent creatures, and their evolutionary history is just as fascinating. With this phylogenetic tree, with this phylogenetic tree, we can trace their genetic history back to anteaters and even back to armadillos. We have had
And the Emmy for Outstanding Duo in a Documentary or Nonfiction Series goes to Cameron Jones and Nancy Idland, The Wildest Things in the Wild.